Check out the full story on Amazon. Link in the description below. In an instant, I was knocked over and on the floor, gasping for air. Zach casually walked over to me, while Kyle, Ollie, and Alan beat the shit out of the remaining guards. Zach? Yeah? Oh god, the pain. The fucking pain. My insides have been liquefied. I just got shot. I think I'm dying. You fucking dumbass. You're wearing a bulletproof vest. Oh, right. I unzipped my jacket, revealing a single 9mm bullet stuck in the Kevlar vest I forgot I was wearing today. I stood back up and looked at the exit. When I turned, I saw Lawrence on the floor, yelling something into his radio. In an instant, the elevator doors opened again, and about a dozen guards in full riot gear charged us. I laugh-screamed, shit, as we all ran out of the building. We crossed the field, and we stopped at the edge of the forest, catching our breath. Are they still chasing us? I asked. Zach looked behind me at the guards running across the field and coming straight at us. Yeah, they still are. Get up. Get the hell up, let's go! In an instant, we were back on our feet, running through the forest to the van. We pulled out our guns and shot at them, but as luck would have it, the guards were also wearing bulletproof vests and bulletproof ballistic helmets. At some point, I turned around for a second and threw my gun at one of the guards, and he tripped and fell. Finally, after what seemed like miles, we spotted the van. We got in, started it, and sped off down the road, leaving all the guards in the middle of the road. I immediately took advantage of that by screaming obscene things at the guards. Since the van belonged to Alan and Ollie, who were brothers, they just dropped us off at Zach's house, and we all went in. I considered calling Ben, but he was working on designing a new submarine model for some company, and I didn't see any point dragging him into this. Besides, just like me, he had seen monsters and had been on a Leviathan-killing expedition, and we both wanted to stay out of the way as much as possible. But the difference between Ben and me is that I'm more gullible, and to be honest, I kind of enjoy the thrill of these little mission things. Shut the blinds and lock the doors, Zach said as soon as we had gotten inside. Whoa, so this is your house? Kyle said, looking at the large log cabin. Zach gritted his teeth. Don't fucking touch anything. I could tell Zach really hated Kyle, and now Kyle had ended up inside his house. But whether it was because of their fights, or because Kyle was kind of annoying sometimes, well, most of the time, Zach hated him anyway. Why? I asked. Zach sighed. Because Corps might have sent guards or agents to follow us back here, and Skinny might show up sooner or later. By the way, Roger, can you go grab the anti-tank rifle? Fuck yeah, mate, I said, imitating a little stereotypical Australian accent. I ran downstairs, grabbed the heavy anti-tank rifle and a box of bullets. Then we locked everything down and we holed up in the basement, where we were surrounded by guns we could use at any minute. I spilled the backpack full of files and papers onto the small desk where we leafed through them. So, what are we looking for? Zach picked up a sheet of paper, one labelled Marine Entity L-100, with a blurry picture of a tentacle mass with eyes below the title. Weird shit like this. He looked at the sheet. Anything sea monster related or anything that may be interesting. That's vague. Thanks. I asked Zach for the file he was holding, quickly reading all the contents, and became very interested. It was an 8-page informational report of a creature, one called the Anomaly. The Anomaly, based on what I read, was a large cephalopod-like creature with multiple eyes covering its body. I looked up from the file. Hey Kyle, what the fuck do you want? Can you come over here? There's some mumbo-jumbo shit I need you to interpret. Sure, man. He stood up beside me and looked over the file. Okay. When you got hired to kidnap me, Lawrence told you a couple things about the Leviathan and their experiments, right? Yeah, told me a little. Well, not that much. I grinned. That's good enough. Okay, do you know anything about this? I pointed to the level 100, printed on the top of the paper. Yeah, before I failed him and left. Lawrence explained a couple of things to me. The level and the number represent the number of people it can single-handedly kill in 1 hour. So since that monster threat is level 100, it can kill 100 people. I remember Lawrence telling me that the Leviathan was like level 80. Okay, good. Do you know what the rift means? Kinda. Lawrence kept telling me that the Leviathan and the other creatures came out of the rift, but he didn't tell me anything else about that. And 001 means that it was the first entity to come out of the rift. I think the Leviathan was Marine Entity 003. Great, more monsters. I leafed through a couple more of the files and I found an extra thick pile of papers bound together, labelled The Rift. I opened it, but before I could read, there was a knock at the front door. I knew exactly who it was. Shit! I yelled. It's them! Zach looked up. Who? Cor and Lawrence! Shit, you might be right. I'll grab the guns, take the baseball bat and look through the peephole. I grabbed a wooden baseball bat and ran upstairs. I looked through the peephole. Sure enough, Lawrence, with a bruise on his face from where I punched him earlier, and 5 security guards were all standing outside. And most of all, they're all holding bottles of chloroform and rags. These chucklefucks wanted to kidnap us. Come out! I know you're in there, Lawrence yelled. Fuck yeah, we are, Kyle yelled from behind me. Kyle! I yelled, glaring at him. You gave away our... Never mind. Let's get the hell out of here. I called Zach upstairs, and we hid all the files and papers we had stolen, and we ran out the back door. We ran through the forest, and just before we thought we were safe, I felt a piercing pain in my lower leg. I looked behind me, and a guard agent holding a tranquilizer dart rifle fired again, this time at Kyle and Zach. The last thing I remember before blacking out is looking at the tranquilizer dart sticking from my leg. As cliché as it sounds, I woke up in a bare interrogation room somewhere underground at the Corps headquarters. My hands were handcuffed to a chair, and Lawrence sat on the other side of the table. He grinned the most antagonistic grin as possible. Roger, you're awake. And as you can see, we have you captive. And to get out of here alive, you need to cooperate and answer all of our questions, got it? Yes, but fuck you. I'll take that as a yes. Question 1. What the fuck were you doing in my base of operations? I grinned and looked at him. Well, I'll answer that in a second, but first, I have a question for you. What the fuck was your Terminator Wendigo doing outside my house? For your information, you knew too much about what we were doing, and we don't like to take risks. And our Wendigo is much smarter, stronger, and faster than any hitman, so we sent it. But that night, we didn't send the Wendigo to kill you or Kyle. We're going to kill Kyle anyway. Really? You expect me to believe that bullshit? Yes, I do. And also, messing with Cor, I guess it runs in your family. You do know your nephew and his stupid fucking friends assaulted me multiple times, and multiple of the Nag Fulwangi. And that little shit ruined half my plans to set up the hive. Oh shit. I guess I have to ask Krista about that next time I see him. Lawrence continued. And the person the Wendigo was supposed to kill was Zach. Zach and the organization he works for is against our organization, and he in particular seemed interested in jeopardizing our plans and projects. We assumed when you saw the Wendigo you would call Zach, and Zach would come to your house and deal with it. And that's when it would strike. You do know we have a PGM Precision Hecate 2 French anti-tank rifle, right? Yes, but that doesn't matter. Lawrence grinned like he was batshit insane. He was. I'll repeat the question. Why were you breaking into our base? Why the fuck do you think we did? You guys sent Wendigos, cheap-ass goons, and shit to kill us. And you don't think we'll investigate and track down every mercenary you've sent? And for such a classified organization, your security is shit. That's exactly why we've recently upgraded our security. Now, question number 2. Exactly how much do you know about? I think Lawrence had more to say, but he was interrupted when a trigger-happy Kyle kicked open the interrogation room door, screaming, "What's up, motherfuckers?" Lawrence pulled out a pistol and he spun around, but he was too late because Kyle had already kicked the shit out of him. While Lawrence was dealing with Kyle, Zach walked over and took off the handcuffs using a pair of keys he had probably stolen from a guard. "How'd you guys escape?" Zach replied, "I took the tranquilizer dart on my leg before it took effect, and I pretended to be asleep. And the guards thought that the tranquilizer dart just fallen out. They took me here, but before they could handcuff me, I beat the shit out of all of them. Checked the interrogation rooms and found Kyle first, then we came here." "Oh. I looked at Lawrence screaming into his radio, while Kyle struggled to take it away. "Do you want to get out of here?" "Yeah." We got out of the interrogation room, ran down the long hallway, and we entered the elevator. When we arrived at the main floor, the doors opened. We were met with a horrifying sight. Skinny was standing right in the middle of the hallway, looking directly at us. Core had taken all of our weapons, and we were pretty sure hand-to-hand combat with a Wendigo wasn't going to do shit. Oh shit, go down!" Zach yelled as he frantically pressed the down button. As the doors closed, Skinny got down on all fours and began crawling towards us like a demon spider straight from hell. Right when Skinny was so close that I could reach out and touch him, the doors closed, and Skinny's head smashed right into them. "Holy shit, I swear this is the last time I'm doing this," I said, sitting down on the elevator floor. "Say, what are we even going to do?" Kyle asked. I looked at the elevator panel, and the restricted area button was lit up, which meant that we were heading straight to the restricted area. Now we had two choices. We could either go up and deal with Skinny, or go down and wait him out. We chose option 2, but it's not like we had a choice anyway. "Looks like we're going to the restricted area." "Well, shit. We're not even supposed to be here, let alone the restricted area. Let's just go another floor." Right then, the elevator stopped, and the doors opened. The doors opened and we stepped out. The entire floor was a junction of bare hallways, and a metal door on the other side of every couple of meters. As soon as we saw a guard, a tall, burly man holding an M16, he turned and yelled, "Hey, what the fuck?" Zach punched him and knocked him out. Honestly, it was usually good to have Zach around in situations like the one we were in, because every time we saw a problem, he could usually just punch or shoot it. Zach took the guard's M16, and I took a pistol, and Kyle took both the guard's police batons. "Where are all the people?" "It's called restricted area for a reason, dumbass." "Alright, then where should we go?" "Forward." We walked down the long hallway when Kyle stopped us. "Guys, we need water splashing around in this room." "So? Maybe there's some kid in a swimming pool there." "So let's investigate." I laughed. You know, Kyle, investigating is the single thing that got us into the shit in the first place. There were about 5 deadbolts and padlocks on the door, but we managed to get it open using the police baton. This is so stupid. "I know, right?" Kyle laughed. Zach held his M16 into a firing position aimed at the door, as Kyle slowly opened the door. Inside the large room was a small swimming pool, about 15 meters in diameter and 10 meters deep, except the water was completely black and murky. Something from deep inside the pool stirred, and in an instant, a 6-foot-long angler leaped out of the pool and narrowly missed me. It crashed onto the wet-tiled floor, but before it could get back up, I had put several bullets into its skull. See? Just a monster. Satisfied that we had found out what was inside the room, we awkwardly kicked the dead angler into the room and walked back outside. "Do you think anyone else heard the gunshots?" "Nah, there's a silencer on the pistol. We're deep underground." We continued down the hallway until we came across a large door on one of the walls, about 4 meters tall and 2 meters wide. Inside, I could audibly hear something screech and move about, and it sounded big. Luckily, we didn't have to break all the locks with a police baton, because it was biorecognition, and there was already a solution. There was a small opening built into the middle of the door that could be opened and shut with a piece of metal that was built into the door frame. Should we look in? Dumbass, sure, knock yourself out. I slid the piece of metal away from the opening, and I looked inside the enormous room. Just like the other, there was a deep pool of stagnant water, and there were several large, half-eaten tuna fish lying in the corner of the concrete room. A creature was laying in the right corner of the room, at the edge of the water. I backed away from the metal door. Holy shit, I breathed. What is it? Jack yelled, whispered. See for yourself? Okay. Zach stopped mid-sentence when he saw the creature inside the room. Holy shit. He backed away from the door, and the exact thing I was dreading happened. Zach turned around, and as he did, he dropped his M16 to the floor, and dropped it with a loud metallic crash. Instantly, the creature snapped its head in our direction. It didn't have any eyes I could see, so it either moved around using hearing or vibrations. The gun falling onto the floor triggered both. With a speed I didn't expect, the creature started charging towards the door and collided with it. Thankfully, the door was made out of a very heavy and solid metal, and there was no way in hell that it could break out anytime soon. And that's when we learned that the creature was fairly intelligent. Or just dumb lucky. Because when the creature found the door to be impenetrable, it did a power move. And by power move, I mean that it got one of its thin legs through the opening of the door and smashed the biometric lock to pieces, causing the metal door to give way and slowly open. I began to run in the opposite direction when I tripped and fell like a total moron. Oh, fuck! Get up, let's go, Zach yelled, pulling me up by the arm. As soon as the door opened, the hallway lights overhead began to dim, and red flashing emergency lights turned on, bathing the whole facility in an eerie red light. An emergency alarm sound blared through the hallways, but that was just annoying. We ran down the hallway, and we turned into a narrow one, going right and deeper into the facility. But just before I lost sight of the creature, I saw it smashing the locks on other doors, releasing even more monstrosities. Either the creature was indeed intelligent, or it liked vandalizing cheap-ass prison locks. We ran down the hallway and eventually came across a small office room built into the wall. Inside there was a man in his 50s, hiding under a desk and holding onto a revolver. He was wearing a white lab coat and had short and white curly hair. As soon as we had shut and locked the door, we turned to see him pointing the revolver at our faces. "Whoa!" I yelled.
"What are you doing out there? Who are you? Don't you know there's a whole facility locked down?"
"We're, the guards? We were outside searching for the prisoners that escaped. I think their names were Zach, Kyle, Roger."
"Yeah, we hate those guys, especially Kyle, he's a fucking arsehole."
Relieved, the man put down his gun. I couldn't believe he was that stupid.
"Who are you?" "Dr. Wilson."
"Yo," Kyle said, raising his hand for a fist bump.
"You have the same last name as me, homie?"
Dr. Wilson looked at Kyle, but he was probably too dumb to put the pieces together. The prisoner's name was Kyle Wilson, and the man standing in front of Wilson also had the last name as the prisoner. But it wasn't like I was going to correct him. Why would there be a doctor in this facility?
"I'm a psychiatrist and a researcher."
"Ah, so what the hell's going on here?"
"One of the subjects we contain escaped. I looked at the surveillance footage, and I think one of the recent entities broke out."
"Entities?" Zach looked very interested.
"Oh, I forgot that they don't tell you guards about this stuff that often. We took this one here a few weeks ago near the rift using our research vessels. It's threat level 20.
"What happens now with the lockdown?"
"Well, this is the first time we ever went on lockdown, but I guess if we stay here, we'll be okay."
Just as Wilson said that, something rammed against the door. I looked out the door's window, and I saw another monster. This one was the size of a small crocodile, and it resembled a monitor lizard, but it had amphibious and wet reddish-brown skin. It only had 2 legs. It had no lips, and had protruding jagged teeth coming out of its enormous mouth. The monster had clawed hands, and had a thick, blistered tail that swung against the door. Shit! There's another one of those fucking peanuts outside. What? Zack asked with visible confusion. The monster rammed into the door, and it finally broke in and knocked the door straight off its hinges. I backed away from it. Everyone with a gun in that room, 3 out of the 4, began serving the monster with lead and pain. After we confirmed it was indeed dead, Zack beat it with his baton just to make sure it stayed dead. Well, I started. The door is knocked off its hinges, and every escaped monster in the facility probably heard the gunshots, even with the silencers. What do you propose we do? Zack asked nonchalantly, as if the whole thing was just another day for him. It probably was. I grinned, loaded my pistol, and pointed out the doorway. Get the fuck out of here. We ran directly down the hallway until we hit a junction. I turned to Dr. Wilson. Where do we go now? He pointed to the hallway going right. There, in a lockdown. The elevator gets shut and locked, but there's an emergency stairwell that leads up to the surface. Cal groaned. Emergency stairwell? Come on, old man, we're 30 fucking floors underground. Better suck it up. Let's kick some dicks. Red emergency lights flaring, we ran down the hallway until the spider crab creature we saw before slid out of the room, eating a chunky corpse. Holy shit, I yelled. Seeing some more delicious future corpses, the creature dropped the corpse it was eating and charged towards us as we all began to unload our guns on the creature. The bullets seemed to cause the creature pain, but they didn't kill it. They did slow it down. The creature kept charging and it lunged at us, but it missed by only a meter. As the creature slid from its weight and tried to get back up, Cal ran, took my pistol and his police baton, and began firing bullets into the fallen creature's brain at the point-blank range, as he also started slamming his metal baton into it. One of the creature's thick tentacles grasped Kyle's waist and threw him across the hallway. The pistol slipped out of his hand and slid across the hallway. I grabbed the pistol, reloaded it, just as the creature began to stand up. The legs! Zack screamed, firing his M16. Aim for the legs! I began firing bullets into the creature's thin and spindly legs until I ran out of ammo. Kyle got back up and began swinging his baton into the creature, baseball bat style. One of its tentacles slipped out from under it and grabbed Wilson. It brought Wilson to its face and bit a huge chunk out of his shoulder. Within seconds, the man was dead. Shit! I yelled. Cal threw the baton to me, and I caught it and began swinging the baton into the fallen creature's carapace. I moved back, and Zack unloaded his last magazine into the creature's skull until it stopped moving. Guys, I think Wilson's dead, I said, pointing to the bleeding wound on Wilson's shoulder. Fuck. I like that old guy. Dr. Wilson's eyes flickered open, and he winced and groaned. Oh, fuck a duck! He's still alive? Kyle screamed. Zack rushed over to Wilson and grabbed the wound on his shoulder with the ripped sleeve of his shirt. Can you walk? Wilson replied. Yeah, but I can't move my arm much. Well, duh, Kyle replied. Wilson glared at him. Kyle put Wilson's good arm over his shoulder, and we continued running down the hallway. We finally reached the stairs and started running up, but I heard a screech come from the hallway we were just in. The monster stumbled into the stairwell and began to climb up. It was about 4 feet long and 2 feet wide. It resembled a giant fleshy isopod with dozens of spider-like needle-sharp legs. Oh, come on, give me a fucking break! I ran to Zack, who was a couple steps ahead of me, and said, Hey man, I need your gun. Why? It doesn't have any ammo. I pointed at the creature rapidly crawling up the stairs. Because I need to take care of that. Zack nodded, handing me the rifle. I still had 1 magazine left in my pistol, but I needed to conserve bullets in case we met any more nasties along the way. I grabbed the 8-pound rifle by the barrel, and I pulled it to my shoulder, and I chucked it at the creature climbing up the railing. It was a pretty good shot, as it hit the creature directly in the head, and it fell right over the railing down to the last floor. Whoa, Zach, you said throwing guns at things is a mistake. I looked over the stairwell, and the monster had splattered on impact. We continued up the stairs until we reached the ground floor. Thankfully, we didn't encounter any more monsters than the first one had released. Upon the ground floor, the stairs led to a short hallway with doors that led outside. Before I left, I got an idea. From what we had gathered, the guards weren't allowed to leave without consent from the higher-ups, and we had to leave as soon as possible. And that would blow our cover. Wilson was part of Corps, which meant he was obliged to report us to Lawrence. But we had saved his life, which meant he owed us. I walked over to Wilson. We're not guards. We're about to get the hell out of this hellhole right now. But before we go, we need a favor. We just saved your life, so don't report or backstab us. We need more information about these creatures. We also need a man on the inside. Do you know about this stuff? Wilson nodded. Good. Do you have a phone number?
Yeah.
I patted myself down. And do you have a pen and a piece of paper? Wilson pulled a notepad and a pen out of his pocket, and he told me his phone number. I ripped the paper out of the notepad, gave Wilson my pistol, and just as I said earlier, we got the fuck out of there.